Final Fantasy XVI launches in only a month, and the hype for this game has been real. My expectations for it have been pretty high, and all of the trailers have been very impressive so far, but now we're hearing that Square Enix is refusing to censor the game in specific regions, leading to it being banned. I have a few different things to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon or a supporter via YouTube memberships. So starting with this Game Rant article, Final Fantasy XVI has been banned in one country. Final Fantasy XVI has been banned in Saudi Arabia by the country's public authority for audiovisual. Final Fantasy XVI is easily one of the most hotly anticipated new game releases of the year, so fans of the franchise in Saudi Arabia are likely not happy about the news. Now, I have talked about this game a few times. I am going to be live streaming it launch weekend. I'm very excited for this, and a lot of other people are as well, and we have gotten primarily good news when it comes to this series, but there are some changes with this title. It is important to point out that this is actually the first time a mainline Final Fantasy game has gotten an M for Mature rating. All of the others have had T for Teen, and this is only the third in the entire franchise to get it, which, in my opinion, is a good thing. I would rather them simply accept the rating instead of toning content down just to hopefully get a T for Teen, but we've known for months at this point the rating would be higher, but we didn't know it would lead to bans in specific regions. When I heard it was Saudi Arabia, I personally didn't feel shocked at all because they ban tons of games. Most countries in the Middle East ban games willy-nilly, but it is important to point out that they do have a very long history of banning titles. As you can see here are just some of the games. I mean, the list goes on, but we are actually finding out that this game has gotten banned because Square Enix refused to censor it. It says it is firmly rooted in series traditions while simultaneously pulling it in new directions. One key difference is that, of course, it is M for Mature, like I just mentioned, but the specifics as to why it is being banned are unavailable at this time of writing, beyond that Square Enix won't make some changes to the game that have been requested by their public authority for audiovisual media. It says that it is entirely possible that some of the content that made it M-rated is why it is being banned, but it's also possible that it could be due to other reasons entirely. Now, Saudi Arabia will ban games for anything, as you can see: use of drugs and alcohol, excessive violence, nudity, gore, but a major reason why they ban titles is because of, as it says right here, homosexual related content. Any sort of content that is LGBT related typically gets banned, and that has actually been something people have been talking about with this title, because a few months ago we had heard that it might have LGBTQA plus characters in content, leading to a potential ban in the Middle East, and now that ban is happening, meaning these leaks could have been real. There were a lot of different posts made in other languages, but some of the translations said things like, it seems that the big publisher is sticking to gay shots, which is causing the big game to not be released in the region. There are a ton of different posts in this thread, but as it says, a journalist from the leading Arabic gaming news outlet True Gaming posted a bunch of cryptic tweets a while back, which isn't out of character for them, and of course they did lean homophobic, but there was a lot of talk of there being quite a bit of LGBTQ plus content, and all I really have to say to this is, obviously when the game comes out we'll see what's in the title, but I always say this, and I always will, I am for options. In this case, I would hope that any potential LGBT content in the game is for optional romances. I love options for players, and I think that that would be a great way to satisfy anyone who wanted to play this title. You could have optional straight romances, optional LGBT romances. I think that's perfectly fine, but we just have a lot of questions with not a lot of answers right now. There, of course, is the potential that there are LGBT storylines or characters in this game that are not optional that you have to see, and maybe that is why Saudi Arabia wanted the game to be altered. Maybe they just wanted options removed, but there could be some hypocrisy by Square Enix here because I've definitely had to talk about them censoring women in the past. Female characters have been toned down and we've heard it's to counter the male gaze, but if they turn around now and are unwilling to censor this because it's LGBT content, that is so hypocritical because they shouldn't have censored any of it. If you are truly against censorship, then none of it should be changed. If they forced those storylines and character traits onto main characters, I just don't think it would go over well for them because, of course, the sensitive snowflakes and the individuals who would typically demand more representation in this title have already attacked it, have already said that they are going to boycott it and they refuse to play it because they accused it of being too white. This was back in November, and I did talk about it in another video, but Final Fantasy XVI dev has a terrible answer for why the game is so white. Yoshida feels the racial diversity would be a violation of narrative boundaries. Ultimately, we felt that while incorporating ethnic diversity into the game was important, an over-incorporation into this single corner of a much larger world could end up causing a violation of those narrative boundaries we originally set for ourselves. And they basically said that while they are telling a fantasy, it is rooted in reality, and that is why there are primarily white individuals in this game and why there may not be a lot of people of color in primary roles, which I respect their decision to do that. A lot of people have been extremely furious over that, though. I don't think that having a game rooted in reality is a bad or negative thing, but to these people it is. And while they didn't include racial diversity, there is the potential that they included sexuality diversity. We don't know, though. These are all just assumptions and, potential things that could be in this title that have led to this ban, but I'm still pretty excited for it, and I'm honestly really happy to hear that Square Enix refused to censor this game. We unfortunately see a lot of developers censor anything they can to get a lower rating or to get their game released in as many regions as possible, and I do have to give them a big thumbs up for doing this. Lately, I've had to talk a lot about Square Enix doing negative things because they have been so focused on AI and NFT games, and unfortunately shoving microtransactions into games that really do not need them, but I do have to give them a big thumbs up for this move. I think that it's good, and I'm glad that they are not, going to release a chopped up, censored version of a game that they clearly feel very proud of. Like I said, I will be streaming this launch weekend. I'm really excited for, and any other big news surrounding this title I will be covering. But for now, that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this and of course found it important and informative, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.